Look at that fat boy. So today I'm here at the Strictly 9 shop, working on Falcon. And I already kind of got a head start. I'm going to be pulling off just kind of some stuff that we don't need, make it a little bit lighter. Probably end up removing these braces right here. And we'll just start trimming things up and getting things ready for the front end. That's going to be going in here soon. Spring buckets have been removed. Now we can go on to drilling out some of these connectors. trimmed up here. Don't mind that little guy. Everything looks, yeah, let's look at this side. This side looks much better. Got everything trimmed up. Got the spot welds removed. Now, I didn't really want to cut through everything, but sometimes it works out the way you want it to, and sometimes it doesn't. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Today, me and Brandon are gonna go pick up a couple of things. We're gonna pick up the front end to a 2001 SN95 Mustang, and we'll show you what we're gonna do with that. And then I am also gonna go pick up some front springs for the project as well. If you haven't already, please take the time to like and subscribe to the channel.
I got my shades on, 8-track playing, rolling through. Got my foot down heavy on the 302. People stop and stare cause it looks so bad. Tesla driving mama says, what is that? It's my Fastback. 68 or on the floor. Yeah, it's a Fastback. Give it just a little bit more. I got competition hookers running straight out the back. Double pumper Holly and a monster attack. Ford 9 posi bolted under the rear. Smoking those tires right through second gear. In my Fastback. 68 or on the floor. Baby, it's a Fastback. Come on, give it just a little bit more. You know that Steve McQueen was a badass. You know the Buick Green is the fastest. I like a Hemi and I like a Chevelle, but the only thing I'm driving on the highway to hell is my Fastback. 68 pour on the floor. Yeah, it's a Fastback. Give it just a little bit more. Fastback. 68 pour on the floor. I'm riding in a Fastback. Give it just a little bit more.
This is the front end out of a SN95 Mustang, like a 2001. This is pulled out of a junkyard. We ended up buying it off of Facebook Marketplace for $200. We're gonna go ahead and just pull everything off of, as far as suspension components, shocks, drop the steering rack out of it, get everything off of that subframe and get it ready to put into the Falcon. That's gonna get the AJE front end, and all this stuff will just bolt directly to the AJE front end. So that's disc brakes, calipers, steering rack, shocks. We'll probably do a coilover conversion for the shocks just to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Stay tuned, I'll keep you posted on kind of what we're doing, the fabrications and modifications that we're doing for this. Right now, step one is to strip everything off, get it cleaned up, and sell everything that we don't need, make some extra money back. Subframe has been stripped. Pulled everything off that we needed. The steering rack. Got some coil springs. And then the steering, little bit of steering joint there, and then the front struts as well. So basically this is all going to be converted to go into the AJE front end on the Falcon. That's going to be a bolt together piece that uses that SN95 front end. So these are all the components that we'll need for that adventure. I'll show you what that looks like as we unbox it. That is all we needed out of that project. Now I've got the full front end, just about everything needed. Start to assemble, and we'll take the front end out. You guys may have seen this already, but I started to drill these guys out, and then got the motor mounts. I started to drill the spring buckets out up there. So we've got a couple of things going on. Progress is going well, and I'll show you what it looks like when we get the AJE front end unboxed. All right, here it is, all cleaned and disassembled. Jeff removed the ABS sensors for us while I had these laying here. These are the struts that we're gonna be using. We'll rebuild the brakes on these, of course. We'll get new rotors and pads and everything, but the calipers are gonna be fine for what we're doing. There's the cross member out of the 2001 Mustang. So if anybody needs a cross member out of the Mustang, go ahead and write into 555 We Need LS Parts, and we will send you a cross member for some of your dollars. Otherwise, steering rack cleaned up beautifully. That should work out just fine. Hopefully that cleaned up good enough for Brandon. I know he likes to see things shiny, so there we go. That's all gonna wind up in the front end of the wagon. Like I said, once I get the AJE front end, I'll unbox it and I'll show you guys what that looks like. But all that, aside from the cross member, is just gonna bolt right on to the front end that we put underneath the car. So that was today's adventure. Heard me talking about doing that coilover conversion on that front end. These are the springs that I decided to use. Now we're gonna use 12-inch long. Those are 200-pound and weight strings. Look at that fat boy. Yeah. 200-pound springs. So we'll use these on the front end, and that should be enough to give us plenty of compression and rebound. Now, based off the calculations, I don't have a scale for that Falcon. So I'm assuming maybe 1,500 pounds of weight on the nose with the 200-pound springs. That should compress these about 3.25 inches, which is a little over the 25% that I'd like to see, but everything that I've read, 25 to 30% compression on just the stock weight of the vehicle should be okay for that. What are you doing? We getting the seal of approval? Yep, that'll do. All right, so I looked up the conversion kit for the front end on this guy, and I found that it's expensive. It's expensive. It's like 200 bucks. Okay. Now I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible. We've been over this a million times. I measured the struts, the shock diameter on the struts that we already have. So I measured this out to be a 2-inch diameter, and that kit that I'm talking about, it just, you unbolt the top of this here, that plate comes off, and the retainer plate slides right over, and then you got that coil adjuster, slides down here, you slide your spring on, and then the top retainer plate holds everything together. You put this top mount back on here, and everything's hunky-dory. And the thought is that I was staring at that kit, I'll put a little picture of that right up there. It just looks like a bunch of, just looks like a couple of retainer plates and the adjuster itself. So I'm gonna see if I can find a set of coilovers, just some cheapy used ones, maybe Honda Boy, something, and maybe use the retainer plates and the adjusters off those, save us some money. Instead of paying $200, pay someone like $5, maybe $10. I found some on the old interwebs there, good old marketplace, 40 bucks. So I'm gonna have Brandon go up and take a look at them. They're a little bit closer to his side of town. And the guy won't measure them for me, but that's okay. So stay tuned. That's my idea. We'll see if it works out. Taking a pause on the front end project while we wait for some parts and other supplies. This is going to be the 9-inch rear end housing for the car. And we're going to go ahead and shorten that up. Now you'll notice how it's actually a little bit longer on that side than on that side. I believe that driver's side is 2 inches longer than the passenger side, but we're not needing that where we're going. We're lopping this off. We're still on the fence about dimensions. I will take a look at the notes and I'll inform you about how far we're cutting this down. We're not going to do too much. We still want to run a 8-inch wide, so we're not going crazy short. You know, we're not going full tub on this thing. I like the wheel wells back there, so we're going to go ahead and we might have to extend them a little bit, but trying to keep the axle somewhat long for the project. I'm going to lop off the spring purchase here. We'll cut off the ends, and then we'll take some measurements and we'll start shortening. I've got some parts ordered up for the 9-inch. They have a lot of the stuff that we need already. They've got the spool. They might have a casing. I think we've got the axles. I had a couple of parts. Man, that wind is brutal. Unbelievable. I've got a couple of parts that I traded them that they're going to trade me some stuff for. So we'll probably get the axles and the carrier and a couple of things out of trade. So I'll keep you posted about what's going on. Sorry about the crazy wind. It's just one of those lovely days down here in Denver. Also, something that's worth showing you here. This is more or less kind of what we're going for. When you take stuff off of these axles, you don't want to take too much material off. You don't want to cut into the housing or anything like that. This is actually one that I did because I thought this was the Falcon rear end, but this is not the Falcon rear end. Regardless, this is getting chopped up and cut apart, so it was a good opportunity for me to practice on the one perch, and then I will do an even nicer job over here. At least we'll see. Off on this side. What I'm about to do is trim the end off of this, and I'm going to be reusing these. So this is kind of what that looks like when you cut it off. That's the piece. This is what you're getting out of there, is that inner piece right there. So you'll want to cut a little bit of a lip, a little bit more than you need. That way we can machine this weld off, and then we can get this to slip right out. And then we've got these new bearing ends that we can just reuse, and voila! That's how you save some money there. I Goldilocks it. This one is looking great. In fact, that's, you know, a little bit more material than I'd like to have taken off. It was just starting to look a little short to me. That, first off, I don't know what kind of cross-eyed son of a gun was cutting this thing. Now, it's not a lot of material off of that thing, but yeah, it's a little bit. So, too much on one side. Really, that's just fine looking at it now. Not enough on the other. Hey, you live and you learn. Give yourself a little extra room. You know, cut twice, measure once, that sort of deal. Considering that's like the 9th time the phone is blown over, I'm going to stop the time lapse there, and I'll show you guys what this looks like when it's finished. Here's what she looks like after she's been stripped down. Now, I went ahead and put on a new cutoff wheel, and as you can see, that big disc, that was a little hard to swing around there. I mean, I got a lot of respect for those big discs, but time and place for them. So I ended up using one of these small guys here, and ended up trimming these guys flat, and then I used the big disc to kind of buff and sand the area. So everything looks good there. I figure those cuts that I've got, those slight little nicks in the tube there, aren't any deeper than the pits from the welds. So I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that. That's what that guy looks like. We'll get these all trimmed up and cut to size. Please ignore the warbly end. I apparently had too much water before this. And then on this side, everything looks good, same thing. Less nicks in the tube. As you can see, again, those small discs, man. People knock the small discs, but small discs are still usable. I think that's gonna be the end for this. Next step is I'll go ahead and buff it and get it painted. And then we'll measure it out and assemble it. See ya! And I'll show you guys that in a different video. Just got home and noticed the wind did a number on our camera here. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's looking good, boys.